Welcome, everyone, to the Apoco-Larry podcast. I'm Steve. He is.
Dr. Lawrence Van Beek.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
I felt like I could be a doctor today.
I mean, you've got the qualifications. Use them.
I spoke on Revelation in a devotion yesterday. I don't think I connected, but I actually think they didn't understand a lot of it.
Well, yeah, that's what I'd like to go with. That
That's what I'm staying with.
your audience was simply too stupid to understand what you were saying.
I usually get a few comments or compliments and stuff. This time I only got one, and it was from the theology professor, which pleased me to no end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good. Good. Well, yeah, right. Not our audience. Our audience is fantastic, but
Oh no, they get everything.
hey, tip your mic down there too, buddy. There we
They
go.
get
We hear
everything.
you now. Anyway, my friend, today we're going to move on to chapter 14 of 1 Samuel. And this is a great story, you said.
I think it is a great story. This is everybody. There's nobody that doesn't love Jonathan.
Right.
Everybody loves Jonathan, and this is all about Jonathan. And he's such a fabulous guy, right? And he's everything you would want in a man.
Yeah.
Not that I want anything in a man, but but I mean he's he's young, he's tough, he's fearless. He
Yeah.
totally trusts God
Yeah.
in his actions, you know. Eats honey from the end of his spear.
Yeah. His only downfall is he's Saul's son, right? Which we'll find out chapters later. So
Yeah. And Saul's my guy, you know that. Saul, nobody breaks my heart like Saul does.
yeah.
Just because I just love this guy, and he just did so poorly as the years went on.
Yeah.
I identify with him, even
Mm.
though my life has been great. Not one bad thing has ever happened really, but I still see that love for God changing to a positional thing that he had to do,
Mm.
you know?
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good way to put it. As we go through our years, we can kind of get there, can't we?
Yeah, don't lose that first love.
Yeah.
If you're the Laodicean church, right?
Yeah. Nice tie back to Revelation.
Oh, that was the Ephesian church. That was Ephesus, not Laodicea. My apologies.
No worries.
Yeah, Laodicea were the rich guys and he said, yeah. He never said it's wrong to be rich. He just said, you should have trusted in me through it all.
Yeah.
Which we won't speak of anymore. Let's talk about Jonathan.
Fair enough. All right, folks. Let's start at verse 1, chapter 14. One day, Jonathan, son of Saul, said to his young armor bearer, "Come, let's go over to the Philistine outpost on the other side." But he did not tell his father. Saul was staying on the outskirts of Gibeah under a pomegranate tree in Migron. With him were about 600 men, so not a large force. Among them was Ajah, close enough, who was wearing an ephod. He was the son of Ichabod's brother, Ahab, son of Phinehas and Ferb fame, and the son of Eli, the Lord's priest in Shiloh. No one was aware that Jonathan had left.
Yeah. You're coming through just a little bit quiet.
Am I? Oh, okay. I'll keep turning it up.
Now you're louder. Okay. So anyway, so you see this first part. I don't know how he got all 600 of these men under this pomegranate tree, but that's okay. So it's kind of a neat story. Like I like this sitting under the pomegranate, and it has nothing to do with anything important. It just reminds me of a day when men were out there, and they were warriors, and they're sleeping under the stars, and it's I don't know. I just really like it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
But other than that, it's not important. But with him was Ahijah, and he's Ichabod's brother. Remember, Ichabod, it says right here, was the son of Phinehas, was the brother of Ichabod's brother, the son of Phinehas, and Eli. So Phinehas was the son of Eli. Remember, and that was just earlier.
Right.
Earlier on, yeah, when Eli, when Samuel comes on the scene, Eli's the priest, and when he dies, and later on, and his daughter-in-law dies in childbirth, they call the son Ichabod, because the name meant the glory has departed.
Mm,
But Ichabod would still have been a priest because he was
okay.
the son of a priest.
Right.
And so that's what they were saying, is these guys were priests.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Verse 4. On each side of the pass that Jonathan intended to cross to reach the Philistine outpost was a cliff. There was one called Boazes, and the other was Senna. The cliff stood to the north toward Michmash, the other side to the south toward Gibeah. Jonathan said to his young armor bearer, "Come, let's go over to the outpost of these uncircumcised men. Perhaps the Lord will act on our behalf. Nothing can hinder the Lord from saving, whether by many or by few."
Yeah, and that's always a derisive thing to call them, these uncircumcised men,
Yeah.
and it's very derisive,
Yeah.
which is nice. I like it.
Yeah.
So
Kind of
so
like
you
kind of
know,
like we'd say these losers or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah. That's right. That's right. That was his intention. A little stronger term,
Yeah. Yeah.
but his intention. But I like what he says here.
Yeah.
Nothing can hinder the Lord from saving. Whether by few or many. Well, he's only two of them.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. When you said by few, you really meant by few.
And I don't know if his armor bearer had swords or not,
Mm,
because remember they said nobody had weapons. Now that could vary over time, so I don't know at this period what it meant. Because remember the Philistines, when they took over earlier, they removed all their weapons,
that's right.
and they'd have to go to them to even sharpen their farmers' tools.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know what how long a period this is, and how much they've regained their weapons at this
Mm,
point.
mm. Verse 7. Do all that you have in mind, his armor bearer said. Go ahead. I am with you, heart and soul.
Yeah, love that armor bearer, man.
Yeah.
Love him. Yeah.
Yeah. Faithful companion there. Jonathan said, "Come on, then. We will cross over toward them and let them see us. If they say, Wait, if they say to us, Wait here until we come to you, we will stay here and will not go up to them. But if they say, Come up to us, we will climb up, because that will be our sign that the Lord has given them into our hands."
Yeah. See, there's the faith, right? There's
Oof.
the faith. Yeah.
Can you imagine saying, "Yeah, come up here and we'll have a fight up top here,"
Oh yeah.
and you're like,
Oh yeah.
"This is great. The Lord is on our side." And you're like, that's a man of more faith than I have at this moment. Verse 11. So both of them showed themselves to the Philistine outpost. "Look," said the Philistines, "the Hebrews are crawling out of the holes that they were hiding in." The men of the outpost shouted to Jonathan and his armor bearer, "Come up to us and we'll teach you a lesson."
Yep. There you go.
So Jonathan said to his armor bearer, "Climb up after me. The Lord has given them into the hand of Israel." Jonathan climbed up using his hands and feet, and with his armor bearer right behind him. The Philistines fell before Jonathan, and his armor bearer followed and killed behind him. In that first attack, Jonathan and his armor bearer killed some 20 men in an area of about a half an acre.
Yeah. Yeah. Two guys going along, and you almost feel like Jonathan knocked him down and the armor bearer finished them off.
Yeah, yeah. It's like some sort of weird 1-2 punch that they had
Yeah.
going there.
That's right. But it's a fantastic story. You
Yeah,
know, little gruesome for people that don't like war. Well, we should not like war,
right.
but a little gruesome for some. But just a fabulous story of these guys are standing against, and he's just like, God wants us to do it, and away he goes.
Yeah, and doesn't question it, just has complete faith.
Yeah.
Okay, verse 15 now. Then panic struck the whole army, those in the camp and the field, and whose outposts and raiding parties, and those in the outposts and raiding parties. Sorry about that. And the ground shook. There was a panic sent by God. Saul's lookouts in Gibeah in Benjamin saw the army melting away in all directions. And then Saul said to the men who were with him, "Muster the forces and see who has left us." When they did, it was Jonathan and his armor bearer who were not there.
Yeah.
Saul, go ahead.
No, it's okay. No, we can just keep going here. I think I was going to say something, but it wasn't that important. Keep going.
Saul said to the priest, because I'm not going to try his name again, bring the ark of the Lord, bring the ark of God. At that time it was with the Israelites. While Saul was talking to the priest, the tumult in the Philistine camp increased more and more. So Saul said to the priest, withdraw your hand.
Yeah, a little bit of an earthquake might have happened, with the earth shook, and somehow it completely freaked out and they said they totally attributed that to God, that shaking of the
Hmm.
earth.
Hmm.
And away they went, just out of their mind, right? Out of their mind. Now the priest withdrawing his hand, it's funny because he said, bring the ark. The ark at this time was in Kiriath Jearim, I think.
Okay.
So I don't know whether they had already brought it closer, or how far they brought it. But then when he says to the priest, withdraw your hand, the suggestion there is in the ephod you had the two stones, the yes and the no stones.
Oh, okay.
And so
Yeah.
the idea was he withdrew his hand with the, go ahead. So he was,
Oh,
but the way they've written it, it's hard to tell exactly
okay.
what's going on. But it looks like he brought the Ark of the Covenant, which is never used for making decisions, but the priest thing, with the Urim and the Thummim, those are the stones, and and so he withdrew his hand, and then they went after him, and Saul went after him, and then he makes a big mistake, just a dumb mistake that Saul makes at this point.
Okay. Thank you for that context, though, because it doesn't make any sense if you just say withdraw your hand.
No, and even the way it's written, it's hard to kind of figure out what they're doing, but it sounds like that's what's happened.
Okay.
So basically, Saul has approached God on this
Yeah.
thing.
Okay. Verse 20. Then Saul and all his men assembled and went to the battle. They found the Philistines in total confusion, striking each other with their own swords. Those those Hebrews who had previously been with the Philistines had gone up with them to their camp and went over to the Israelites who were with Saul and Jonathan. When the Israelites who had hidden in the hill country of Ephraim heard that the Philistines were on the run, they joined the battle in hot pursuit. So on that day, the Lord saved Israel, and the battle moved on beyond Beth-aven.
And it's kind of weird, eh? Like, remember, they were hiding from the Philistines when the Philistines were attacking. They were hiding in cisterns and all over the place.
Right?
And that's why these Philistines said to Jonathan, like, look at them coming out of their hiding. But now that something's going on, they're coming out of hiding and they're joining the battle. And it doesn't sound like they're soldiers. It sounds like they're just everybody
Yeah.
coming in and joining the battle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like farmers and farriers, like
Yeah.
they said about the people of Rohan,
Yes.
right? Okay, verse 24. Now the Israelites were in distress that day because Saul had bound the people under oath, saying, cursed be anyone who eats before evening comes, before I've avenged myself on my enemies. So
And
none of the troops tasted food.
that's the big mistake. He so wanted to beat them, and then he just makes this really stupid decision, because now they're getting weak from lack of food,
Right.
you know. And so this is dumb, and he put a curse on it. So he invoked God into this thing as well. So
Mm, mm, mm.
just a really bad move.
Yeah. Okay, verse 25 now. The entire army entered the woods, and there was honey on the ground. When they went into the woods, they saw the honey oozing out, yet no one put his hand to his mouth because they feared the oath. But Jonathan had not heard that his father had bound the people with an oath. So he reached out the end of his staff that was in his hand and dipped it into the honeycomb. He raised it to his mouth, and his eyes brightened. Then one of the soldiers told him, your father bound the army under a strict oath, saying, cursed be anyone who eats food today. That is why the men are faint.
Yeah, and I don't understand this honey everywhere, but it seems like they're in their encampment and there's honey there. Like, there's not just honey laying on the ground,
Yeah,
because that's what it sounds like, right?
it does.
But
Like I
it
was
sounds
walking
like they're
along.
going through the encampments and they're actually plundering the encampment as they're going through.
I'm with you now.
And so Jonathan takes some of the honey and he eats it. And the guy says, "Oh, you can't." And then Jonathan in 29
Yeah, here we
actually
go.
says something I wouldn't have expected him to say.
Yeah. Jonathan said, my father has made trouble for the country. See how my eyes brightened when I tasted a little of this honey? How much better it would be if the men had eaten some today from the plunder they took from their enemies. Would not the slaughter of the Philistines been even greater? That day, after the Israelites had struck down the Philistines from Michmash to Ajalon,
I'm
They were,
losing your voice again, Steve. I can't hear
oh,
you.
sorry. Let's do that again. That day, after the Israelites had struck down the Philistines from Michmash to Ajalon, they were exhausted. They pounced on the plunder, taking sheep, cattle, and calves. They butchered them on the ground and ate them together with the blood. Then someone
Yeah.
said to Go ahead.
Oh no, keep going. Keep going. I'll talk about it after.
Someone said to Saul, look, the men are sinning against the Lord by eating meat that has blood in it. You have broken faith, he said. Roll a large stone over here at once. Then he said, go out among the men and tell them, each of you bring your cattle and sheep and slaughter them here and eat them. Do not sin against the Lord by eating meat with blood still in it. So everyone brought his ox that night and slaughtered it here. Saul built an altar to the Lord, and it was the first time he had done this.
Yeah. Couple of things there, right? They were eating meat with the blood in it. It sounds like they were eating it raw, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Like they weren't taking the time to cook it. Um, I don't know, but that's what it sounds like to me because they've been fighting all day and they're just really hungry. And then Saul says, "No, let's prepare it properly." And still, whether they cook it or not, it doesn't say. But they at least took the time to drain the blood out,
Mm.
which would be appropriate to them,
Right.
right? And not to the Germans that eat blood sausage, but but, but to these guys, that was very important. And it's interesting that he was very conscious of following God's rules for the Israelite people at that point, right? And then he sets up the altar, doesn't he? Or what's
Yep.
he do again?
Yep. Yeah. Then in 35, there was Saul built an altar, and this was the first time he had done this.
Yeah. Yes, and I think they're saying it. I can't tell if he's saying it that this is the beginning of the end of Saul,
Mm.
by setting up this altar.
Yeah.
Because he shouldn't be doing stuff on his own, right? You could also read it that he's finally doing something right before God, but it's not that. It's he's doing something without the priest's help,
Right.
and
Right.
and he can set up the altar, but they should be there. So it sounds like they're moving. He's moving his audience toward the end of Saul's reign,
Mm. 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 I
which he's
like it.
mentioned a couple times. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. Brilliant. Um, 36. Saul said, let us go down and pursue the Philistines by night and plunder them till dawn. Let us not leave one of them alive. Do whatever seems best to you, they replied. But the priest said, let us inquire of God here. So Saul asked God, shall I go down and pursue the Philistines? Will you give them into Israel's hand? But God did not answer him that day. Saul therefore said, come here, all you who are leaders of the army, and let us find out what sin has been committed today. As surely as the Lord who rescues Israel lives, even if the guilt lies with my son Jonathan, he must die. But not one of them said a word.
They would be freaked out at that point.
Exactly.
Yep.
Saul then said to all the Israelites, you stand over here. I and Jonathan, my son, will stand over here. Do whatever seems best to you, they replied. Then Saul prayed to the Lord, the God of Israel. Why have you not answered your servant today? If the fault is in me or my son Jonathan, respond with Urim. But if the men of Israel are at fault, respond with Thummim. I've never known how to say that. Jonathan and Saul were taken by lot, and the men were cleared. Saul said, cast a lot between me and my son Jonathan. And Jonathan was taken. Then Saul said to Jonathan, tell me what you have done. So Jonathan told him, I tasted a little honey with the end of my staff, and now I must die. Saul said, may God deal with me, be it ever so severely, if you do not die, Jonathan. But the men said,
Bad, eh? Bad, eh?
yeah,
So the
wow.
priest did the Urim and the Thummim, the two stones, and so then they find out it's Jonathan, right? And then, but Saul, then I'm going to kill you. Now this isn't totally unheard of. Do you remember Jephthah when his daughter came out and he said, "The first thing that comes out of my house, I will sacrifice,"
Right.
and that breaks his heart. There was These guys had a very seriousness when they made an oath to God
Mm,
that they would carry it out. And I still like to think that his daughter just worked in the temple for the rest of her life, but most think that he probably did kill her.
mm.
which is horrific, just
Yep.
horrific. And what Saul's doing is the same thing. Like there's got to be a point where Saul could have said, "What kind of a fool was I to make this oath before God?
Yeah.
God, I repent of my oath."
Yeah.
You know, um, I was completely wrong and I repent. But he didn't. He had this kingy thing stuck in his head,
Mm.
and he was going to push through no matter what.
Verse 45, but the men said to Saul, should Jonathan die, he who has brought about this great deliverance in Israel? Never, as surely as the Lord lives, not a hair on his head will fall to the ground, for he did this today with God's help. So the men rescued Jonathan, and he was not put to death. Then Saul stopped pursuing the Philistines, and they withdrew to their own land. After Saul had assumed rule over all Israel, or over Israel, he fought against their enemies on every side: Moab, the Ammonites, Edom, the kings of Zobah, and the Philistines. Wherever he turned, he inflicted punishment on them. He fought valiantly and defeated the Amalekites, delivering Israel from the hands of those who had plundered them.
Yeah. So Moab and Ammon, those are the sons of Lot. Edom, that's the sons of Esau. Zobah, that's Syria. That's a little
Hmm.
north of Syria. So they might have been Syrians. And then there's Philistines. The Amalekites, those again they thought Amalek was a grandson of Esau.
Yep.
So again, these could have been Edomites of a form as well. So that's what happened. And so Saul is carrying on, right? And then I like what he does. He introduces you to a later character, which is David's future wife.
Here we go. Verse 49. Saul's sons were Jonathan, Ishvi, and Malachi, Shua. The name of his older daughter was Merab, and the younger daughter was Michal. Is that how you say it?
I don't know. I've always said Michael.
Michael. Let's call it Michael.
Yeah.
His wife's
It
name
would probably
was,
be Michal.
yeah, his
Because
wife's
it's,
name, yeah,
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, carry on.
I was going to say his wife's name is completely unpronounceable and was the daughter of something else that's almost unpronounceable.
Some other guy.
The name of the commander of Saul's army was Abner, son of Ner, and Ner was Saul's uncle. Saul's father, Kish, and Abner's father, Ner, were sons of Abiel.
Yeah, and I think this Abner is the guy that is so important in David's life later on.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or he's the guy from the comics. I can't.
He's little Abner. Anyway, all the days of Saul, there was a bitter war with the Philistines, and wherever Saul saw a mighty or brave man, he took him into his service.
And I think when they threw in, whenever Saul saw a mighty and brave man, he took him into his service. Remember Samuel when they wanted a king? He said one of the things that's going to happen when you get a king is he's going to take your sons.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's saying that's what he's doing.
Yeah.
So he's getting us ready for the end of Saul.
I get you.
Yeah.
And is this kind of merry band that David has around him later on in his life too?
Which band? Because there
What
is a
doesn't he have like these group of like these mighty warriors that are around him at some point?
David does, but these are guys that chose to be with him.
Ah,
Like Saul conscripts them into his service.
I get you now.
But they follow David because they really liked him.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
It would have been a fun group to be a part of.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Come join my merry band. Sure.
Do you remember when they went and got water for him? He wanted water from this one well, and
Yes.
these brave guys snuck in and brought it back, and then he poured it out to God because he said, this is an offering to God. And I don't know if it's wonderful or if it's like, come on, man.
Do you know what I did to get here?
To get this for
Are
you?
you nuts?
But I'm hoping they'd all think, yes, it belongs to God first.
Yeah. My friend, thank you for that. That was fantastic. What an interesting part of Saul's life, and like I appreciate how you brought out, multiple times that this is the author preparing us for something else that's coming in Saul's life. Just another thing that we're going to see Saul do something, and it's kind of leading us to the next chapters that are coming.
Yeah.
Folks, as always, we're very appreciative that you listen. Thank you for joining us on this journey. We just love doing this for you. And we'll be back in a week's time to do chapter 15. So until then, I was Steve, he was Larry, and this was the Apocalypse.